Okay, here we are, and we're talking about relationships today. I'm not a relationship expert. I feel like if I had been married 7 times and they were all happy or happily ended, or even not, I would have a lot of experience in serious partnership, but I don't. So let me just start off by saying I'm not a relationship expert. What I am an expert at is being pretty self aware on stuff that I do, practicing constantly this idea of taking epic responsibility for my life. And I'm also very good at knowing my power to change my state and the state of relationships and the state of everything. I think our relationships, our primary relationships, have been a huge source of pain and conflict and friction over the last year. Everything has been exposed. There is no hiding. All the faults, the personality quirks, the way we relate, the rules that we have been living by that we actually have discovered that we don't like and we don't agree with, everything has been laid bare. Of course, this has been also an opportunity to get even more intimate. And I would say, even if we're the couple that has been trying to be even more intimate, there have been moments when that is just not possible. There is a degree of hardness that is just true, and that's okay. That's real, and that's what's happening. So, my marriage, up and down, we have had moments, we have had phases of connection and intimacy and sexual connection like we haven't had in a long time, and we have also hit the places of friction big time. At the very beginning of the pandemic, I realized, I feel like it was maybe week 3, and everybody was home. Kids was home. My husband was working from home. We were all home. And home was my place to be alone. And I wasn't alone anymore. And I was so filled with disapproval for my man. It was the eye rolling. It was the nostril flaring. It was all the stuff. And I could feel for myself how toxic it was for me. And I just knew, as we know, the toxic energy it was going to bring into our relationship and what damage it might cause. So I decided pretty early on that I had to do epic work, take epic responsibility, to move into approval, to stay plugged in, to connect. And sometimes I do an excellent job of that, and sometimes, just like you guys, I get tired, I get overwhelmed, there's too much going on, and I don't do a great job of it. So here's what I want to share today. And every relationship is different. So you might find some things here that suit you and fit you and your relationship great. Maybe you just get inspired to figure out the 3 things that you do that build walls between you and your partner, and the 3 things that you do that build juice. And the reason I chose the term juice is because it's almost like it's this lubricant. Things just move more easily. You problem solve more easily. New things come up and you're like, we're just so lubricated. It's easy to figure this out. So there's things I do, behaviors that I have that build the walls between us. And there are things that I do that build the juice, help lubricate. 3 things on building the juice. I debated quite a while what to call number 1. I was like, I wanted to find this clever thing to call it. And do you know what I have written down? Number 1, being nice. That's a big one for me. I'm not natural. I don't think I'm naturally nice. I'm not naturally thoughtful. One of my other superpowers is that I am selfish. in all the beautiful ways and in all the not beautiful ways, the strengths and the weaknesses. I am a selfish person. It is not natural for me to be thoughtful and to think about other people. So for me, being nice and being thoughtful and being kind has been something that creates juice, and it has been a change, and it has required deep intention from me. Being nice for me might be putting a beer in the fridge for my husband. It could be making coffee and bringing a cup of coffee to him. It could be asking him about his day, even when I don't have the energy to, even when, frankly, I don't really care. It takes a lot of effort to care. Could be bringing him a blanket. It could be asking for his opinion. It's these very small things that require big intention and usually little effort. They're a huge thing. I notice when I start to lose the niceness, we're losing juice. We're losing lubrication. So that's number one for me, just to be nice. This is why I'm not a relationship expert. Number two, epic self-care. The less I take care of myself, the more problems we have. The more I take care of myself, the juicier we are. So a perfect example of this is walking. When I feel a lot of emotional charge, that might be the end of the day. I'm tired, I'm cranky. Days are big, right? Days require a lot right now. And for me, if I go for a walk, 20-minute walk, I'm out in the country now. I used to walk around the city block. I had a little route, and now I have a new route, and I just talk to myself. I have lots of different tools that I use to discharge what's going on. And I come back, and I'm like a shiny new person. And if I don't go on the walk, I am bitchy, sarcastic, mean, cruel. I withdraw, I isolate, I unplug. None of it is good stuff. So what is your epic self-care? If this makes sense to you. What is the stuff that you really have to keep doing in order to be able to be in relationship more or less cleansed, more or less open, more or less satisfied? Number three, this has been a huge area of learning, and it's exciting. It's called, here's the title for that one, Letting Him Do Shit. I like to do stuff. Maybe like you, I think I can do it better. I do it the right way. Sometimes I have noticed myself taking on jobs that I do not want to do, but because I'm trying to save my husband from the work. That's just default bullshit programming of the good mother, the good wife, the good woman. Over the last, 5 or 6 months, my husband, Ryan, has taken on actually way more jobs than usual. He's taken on way more jobs. He has more on his plate. And the key for me has been not taking them off his plate, letting him do it his way, which is not my way, but his way. Not micromanaging, which is, so have you done that yet? Have you done that yet? You know what? Even if he hasn't done it and it comes to a moment of crisis, you know who problem solves on it? He does. This has been such a huge shift, and it's so powerful. There's something about it that has unbuckled us from this idea that I am also a mother figure and I take care of stuff for him. And we're just two adults figuring shit out. We're allowed to fail. We're both allowed to make mistakes. And it's all okay. And if he wants to take care of something, awesome. I don't need to check in. I don't need to know how it's going. I don't need to approve of it. I don't need to approve it. It's his. It has been genius. It has just been genius. So here are my 3 things that have been helping us to build juice, stay juicy and to build juice. Be nice, epic self-care, letting him do shit. All right, here are the 3 things that I do that build a wall between us. Number 1, disapproval and criticism. It's a killer. Disapproval for me is I disapprove of his thoughts. Even when I don't know them, I just think I do. I disapprove of the way that he thinks. I disapprove of how he does things. I disapprove of the way he thinks about things. I disapprove of his philosophy of life. I disapprove of his parenting. I disapprove of everything he does. Disapprove. Disapproval is toxic for me and for him. Approval, it's balm, BALM. It's lubricant, it's juice, it's beautiful. You know, the cool thing about switching from disapproval to approval is that you also get to practice approval of yourself. It is impossible to disapprove of someone else and be fully approving of yourself. It just is. How we relate to others is how we relate to ourselves. So disapproval and criticism, it's just, they are crucial for me. And I notice that I get back into them because, of course, life is never static. When I'm tired, when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm not approving of myself, when I'm being critical of myself, I got to stop that shit right away. Number 2, this is interesting. This is about identity. When I look at Ryan as the enemy instead of a team member, it's a huge wall between us. When I look at him as the person to blame for things, as an object that only brings up resentment for me, as somebody who's stopping me from my dreams, who's preventing me from having the things that I want, who is an obstacle, that is a huge wall between us. And it happens. It happens that I view him. I have in the past, I'm sure I will in the future. Because, again, life is not static. Switching that identity to seeing him as someone who is on my team, on my side, even when he doesn't understand everything fully, even when he's imperfect, because I am too, even when he fails, even when he makes mistakes, to see him as being on my side, being on my team, wanting me to succeed, being available to problem solve, to help, is huge for me. And when I identify him as the enemy or an obstacle or against me, builds a wall. Number 3, when I unplug. This is so hard because we are tired. We are tapped out, especially emotionally. We're tapped out, right? So the emotional energy that it requires to, number 1, be nice, to stay plugged in. Like, what's going on with you? How are you feeling about that? What are your thoughts? Just stopping and turning around and listening to somebody talk sometimes requires a lot. So unplugging is something that builds a wall between us. Unplugging for me is physical isolation, like I go some other place and I don't want to come out, which sometimes is exactly what I need and sometimes really healthy and sometimes builds a wall. And I trust you, I trust all of us to know the difference, and we do. Withdrawing, stop talking, stop connecting, stop, a hand on the back, stop touching, stop being in the same space. It's almost like this. For me, I know exactly when I'm doing it. It's like I'm living a separate identity in the house. There's nothing that's connecting us. There's no tether between us. And if that carries on, when that carries on too long, it's a wall between us. So, what are your things? What are the 3 things that you do, that you know you do, that build juice between you and your partner? What are the 3 things that you know that build walls? Ideally, we want to be aware of when we're building walls and shift when we can. And we want to stock up on the stuff that builds the juice, because, as you know right now, when we have this privilege, this beautiful gift of being in a juicy relationship, especially right now, it's beyond beautiful. It will allow us to cultivate dreams even right now. It will allow us to stay healthy even right now. It will allow us to come more closely to our real desires for our relationship. Beautiful. So when we can do that, wowzers. So this is what I wish for you. I wish for you less walls and more juice. I wish for you awareness. And let me know, do you know the 3 things that you do that build walls, the 3 things that you do that build juice? I would love to hear. You can always let me know. I'm always interested in hearing, and thank you for your time and attention.